One of 2024's biggest phenomenon in the entertainment world came from a movie called Dune 2. Some have called it one of the best films of the year, ushering in new potential for another great franchise of films. Along with that movie also came a spin-off television show that is a prequel to the Dune films called Dune Prophecy, following one of the deepest aspects of the Dune world and lore with the Sisterhood of the Bene Gesserit, a show that I have really liked, and I thought season 1 was good, but sadly, I have realized that it has made a mistake in why you don't hear anybody talking about it. In this video, I am going to break down what that mistake was. To anyone watching this video, where do you stand on the Dune universe? Do you like it, or is it too sci-fi for you? Let me know down below in the comments. So just to give my general thoughts on the show, I just mentioned off the top that I thought it was a good show for season 1. I was very impressed by what HBO Max was able to bring to this world on a television format. Aside from the fact that one of my biggest pet peeves of the show is that it was only 6 episodes, I did find that all 6 episodes brought something to Dune that is much more than I could have imagined it would have done for the universe, especially when you factor in that because it's on the television show format, it's on a much lesser budget. Denis Villeneuve was also not brought on board in the making of this show, and so his presence here you can definitely feel is a little left out. However, I think the producers and showrunners of this series did enough to make it actually feel like it was Denis at the forefront pulling all the strings. I was very impressed by the show essentially becoming its own version of Game of Thrones with the Dune universe, playing around with the politics, houses, and different worlds of the universe made for an intriguing watch, especially when you consider a lot of the acting talent that was involved in the show. That and also the writing and dialogue are very specific with how they're done. If there's one thing I know about HBO when they cast their actors, they always find talent that can ingrain themselves within this world in playing the parts that they do. Mark Strong as the Emperor is a great choice, and I couldn't think of many better actors to play a role like that. Emily Watson as the show's main lead, Valia Harkonnen, lends to some intriguing world building on that part of the Bene Gesserit in how they started their campaign throughout time to meddle with the worlds and houses of this universe. To even an actor like Travis Fimmel, who to some plays the show's villain, but then to others might actually be the good guy depending on your views of his character. Travis plays a very calm and menacing presence that stays formidable, but also ever present in every scene that he carries himself in. This was the first time that I have seen him in anything. I know he's very popular for the show Vikings, but now I'm really looking out for him in anything else that I could possibly watch him in for the future. For the most part, all the other actors within the show I think did a good job, and not one performance brings it down for me. On a technical level, the show really does shine in making the production design fit with the world of Dune. It is a clear and obvious departure from the Dune movies, as those films really only ever put themselves in one central location on the planet of Arrakis. Dune Prophecy allows you to explore many different locations and see much more of the universe as it has folded itself into. I really like that it was able to do that, and it allowed me to be more invested in the show, and again, for the most part, I think visually it looked really good for a television show budget that it was on. But now, with all that being said, even with all those praises I have for the show, there is one issue inside of it that is the reason for why I'm making this video today. It is something that most of you might not be thinking about, but I think it speaks to the proof of just why I personally have not seen anybody really talk about the show in the last 6 weeks since it started. It's a little thing that I like to call being too inside baseball. It's a phrase that some people use to describe how a world or universe or the lore of said universe might be too much to consume. The Dune Prophecy show follows a very specific storyline around the Sisterhood of the Bene Gesserit. They are an all-female organization that has superhuman abilities that they use to control humanity and shape all sorts of political events within the world. Within the Dune films, you see a lot of their work with how they craft the prophecy around Paul Atreides being the one to unite all houses. Here within Dune Prophecy, it explores the beginning of their time and almost where they started in their efforts to craft these events leading up to Paul. And that right there is where the issue lies. I think what has put some people off from wanting to watch the show and continue watching the show is that Dune Prophecy in its own way might be too much for even how the Dune movies capitalized in a successful way. The movies were able to capture all audiences to come and see the films, whether it's the hardcore fans of the Dune books and universe, or if it's more the casual audiences who were intrigued to see something different. The show, in my mind, fails to capture that casual audience that the movies succeeded in bringing in. They outline it at the very very beginning of the season that the show takes place over 10,000 years in the past, long before Paul even comes about. It's a risk for a story that I would imagine they knew was potentially going to turn some people off. A story that is too much into itself because it's a part of a timeline that has to convince people it's of any importance for now. To that point, the show has no relevance to the movies other than a few aspects of the lore making an appearance. All that stuff that makes the universe cool is not going to be enough to entice an audience if the story doesn't give you a reason to care. The only reason I cared about it already was because I was interested in Dune to this point. But I think what the movies themselves also really did themselves well in is that they were movies. They weren't a television show. And so movies to themselves have a much wider appeal than, say, a television show does. And so from that perspective, I almost wonder if they did a disservice in shrinking down the universe into a television show to tell this kind of story. Another big problem this show faced was its marketing, which was no fault to the quality of the show. As a marketing guy, it does irk me when I see a television show or movie have bad marketing, because I can't express enough how important it is these days that you market your show and movie well. A lot of the most popular shows and movies of this year in 2024 had great marketing. Aside from a few good trailers, I don't think HBO did as good of a job outlining what this show was to general audiences. It felt as if the show was only being marketed based off name alone, and at the fact that the second movie had come out in the same year. They essentially relied on audiences to remember that, and that would be a mistake in that tactic. If you don't give people any ideas as to what your show is about, they're not going to want to tune in. As it is, the show came out during a time in which it had a lot of competition as well. Multiple different shows and movies all came out at once while it was airing over 6 weeks, and so people have to juggle all the choices of what they decide to watch with what looks most appealing to them to stick with for the time being. This now leads us into the conversation about the potential possibilities for Season 2, as it has already been confirmed before Season 1 had finished that it had been confirmed to get that second season. The finale set up the possibilities for storylines to continue on, and so now we must ask the question of what can they do to get people on board to a show like this for another season. Again, I think the finale did its job, but what we need to see from HBO is a better ability to market to people that this is a show that they should be paying attention to. Give people more of an idea of its connection to the movies, especially since Denis Villeneuve has confirmed that he will be making a third Dune movie. The second season could come out closer to when the next movie happens, and so that is something that you should capitalize on. And also, don't do that 6-episode season crap anymore. When people think HBO, they think prestige television, and no prestige television show should ever have a small season like that. I personally like the characters in this show, and with whose stories are continuing into the next season, I'd like for it to get another chance at breaking out. So like I said already, it's a good show, but its biggest mistake was not allowing people to get invested and talk about it more. A mistake it will need to correct if it has a chance at growing the franchise that is Dune. So there you have it. That's my commentary on Season 1 of Dune Prophecy. If you haven't already, I recommend you do go and binge all 6 episodes now that the season is over. What do you all think? Leave your comments down below and let's have a nice and respectful conversation about it. Thank you for stopping by my channel. If you want to see more moving forward from me with regards to film and television and you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe if you are new here and turn on that notification bell. I'm trying to build a community on here and your support would be greatly appreciated. That's a wrap, folks. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day and I will see you all soon for the next video.